It's summer solstice time! The summer solstice has been recognized and celebrated by many cultures all over the world for as far back as 10,200 BCE, at the start of the Neolithic era. We can still see a few examples of their marking the sun's movement in places like Stonehenge in England and Grange Stone Circle in Ireland. Today is Litha, one of the minor or lesser Sabbats of the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. There is no exact date for Litha, as it varies year to year because it's marking the longest day of the year, when the sun is in the sky the longest. The Gregorian calendar that we follow isn't exact, so Litha isn't set on a specific day of the calendar. Your local time zone may also play a part in figuring out, year to year, what day Litha falls on for you. Most of the festivals on the Wiccan Wheel of the Year are like this for similar reasons. I'm not Wiccan, but as I said in one of my previous episodes, I'm covering this particular Wheel of the Year first, as it's most widely known. Hey, I'm April, and we are on a witchful journey. Now, in honoring the day, I'm not pulling a tarot card today in the normal way that I do. Today, I'm picking a specific card because it's the card that's most often used in connection with Litha. The Empress. The Empress in tarot represents a maternal influence, which is why it's one of the cards most associated with Litha. In the Wiccan mythology of the Wheel of the Year, Litha, or the summer solstice, is the time when the god is at his peak power, in transition from being in his young warrior phase to the aging sage phase. It's a time for introspection and checking on yourself to make sure that you're on track with how you want your life to go. It kind of has some midlife revelations vibes. And I say that because for many of us, it's not until we reach midlife that we really stop and look at our lives and decide whether or not we need or want to make changes. I'll use my life as an example. Up until a few years ago, I was focused on working as many hours as I could and working my way up the ladder until I couldn't move up anymore. Then I moved to another job where I had been expecting to make more money. The goal there was to be making enough money to be able to live the dream. Take the kids on cool vacations, make sure they got the gifts they wanted, have a reliable vehicle, good benefits, a 401k, make repairs and upgrades to the home, and still be able to pay bills. The cost of that was total burnout. I was basically a zombified, almost robotic version of myself, and I could never make enough. I could never set aside enough. And the relationships that I had with everyone in my home were fraying. So I checked myself. I spent time looking within to figure out what I needed to do to get myself back on track with how I wanted life to feel, and use that as the foundation to build on, rather than building on a foundation as unstable as someone else's version of how life should be. I started making those changes about 3 years ago, and there's a different type of abundance in life now that I never would have been able to create otherwise. Litha is also a time when the goddess comes into her mother phase, nurturing and nourishing everything around her, when the earth becomes abundant. Side note, some will mention the battle between the Oak and Holly Kings, and I find that they're not so much part of the Wiccan mythology, but rather that of the modern Druid mythology. If that sounds a bit familiar, it's because I talked about it in episode 5 when we dug into the Wheel of the Year and Beltane, as it's pronounced in the Wiccan religion. Anyway, the Empress embodies motherhood, creativity, abundance, fertility, and nurturing experiences. She reminds us to create our lives with love, healing, and connection. Speaking of connection, I have some little updates for you guys. For the last month or so, it's been a little chaotic in my house. We got 3 adorable kittens, so getting them settled, doing some kitten proofing, and with the increased amount of life stuff in general that went on during the month of May, I feel like I rushed through the last 2 episodes more than I would have liked. If you didn't notice it, that's great. That means that I was still able to pull it off despite the chaos. If you did notice, I just wanted to take a moment and let you know what was going on and recognize that it isn't the normal flow of things. So in theory, all should be going a little smoother now. Second, I wanted to let you know that in between the last episode and today, I started a Ko-fi page. Or Ko-fi, Ko-fi, however it's pronounced. It's mainly, at least for now, just a page that you can go to if you would like to make a one-time donation to the continuation and hopefully the growth of this podcast. If you want to think of it as buying me my next coffee that I'll enjoy as I work, then think of it that way. But I'm going to be so real with you. I was on the fence about it for a little while for a couple of reasons. I would like to keep episodes openly available for everyone because I know that not everyone can afford to purchase memberships. But also for me personally, there's a little bit of imposter syndrome going on as well. Like, you know how when you start a new job in a field you've never worked in before, and after a few weeks you feel like you're in this weird transitional phase of not fully being comfortable in the job yet, but knowing enough about it to do it? And you actually do pretty okay at it. But then your anxiety comes in and you start to wonder if you're actually doing okay with it, or if your boss is just constantly letting your mistakes slide because you're new. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But on the flip side of that coin, I also recognize that doing what I'm doing takes resources. One of the major ones being time. It takes time to produce an episode for a podcast. There's deciding a topic, doing the research, because even though I know a decent amount about each topic, there's always more to learn. Putting it all together, recording, editing, and getting the final product ready for release. That's a lot of time, especially when you have a day job because everything in our society runs on money. At the moment, I'm doing this solo. Not just the hosting, but every other aspect of it too, along with creating daily affirmations and other social media content in between episode releases. So any one-time donations that are made will go towards things like books and other witchy, spiritual, and historical resources, so I can recommend the good ones to you, and because not all of my research is done online. Running off of the hosting platform that distributes the show to you, the audio editing program, and future upgrades to recording equipment. I do eventually want to be able to add intro, background, and outro music, and eventually be able to do things like attend events and have a guest on the show every now and then, and incorporate as much cool and useful stuff as I can for you all. I also, somewhere down the line, may have membership tiers set up with some cool perks. That would probably be quite a while from now, though, unless something crazy happens and this podcast all of a sudden explodes with interested people. So if you can and would like to be supportive, you can go to ko-fi.com/a witchful journey. That's ko-fi.com/a-witchfuljourney. That tested my spelling skills. You can also find the link on the podcast socials, and I'll do my best to remember to include the link in the show notes here as well. Any little bit is helpful, though I think the minimum donation amount on the page is like $3. If you want to be able to show support but can't, for whatever reason, make a donation, no pressure. There are other things you can do. Share the podcast with a friend, leave me a rating, a review, a comment, hit the follow button if you haven't already. Any of those are totally cool. I think that's everything I wanted to mention, so let's get down to what you really came here to hear about today. Litha as a celebration is primarily Wiccan, not pagan. Wicca and paganism are not interchangeable terms. One refers to a distinct set of traditions and practices and is also a recognized religion, while the other encompasses a broad variety of polytheistic, pantheistic, and nature-based belief systems. In 1974, Wiccan practitioner Aidan Kelly renamed the summer solstice celebration, as well as 2 other celebrations, on the Wiccan Wheel of the Year. I think it may have been to try to differentiate between the Wiccan religion practices for those particular days versus other celebrations that happen at or around the same time. Litha, spelled Litha, like most of the other Wiccan celebrations, does take inspiration for a lot of its traditions from other pagan traditions. The chosen name, Litha, possibly comes from something in the Venerable Bede's work, De Temporum Ration. Some say that it's just an ancient word for June, but Bede's work points towards Anglo-Saxon, possibly Icelandic, culture, with a reference of Aira Litha, meaning before Litha, being June, and Eftera Litha, meaning after Litha, being July, suggesting that Litha is the word for midsummer, or the summer solstice. There are plenty of other names for Litha. We've already mentioned summer solstice, but there are a few others that you may have also heard. Midsummer, yeah, like Shakespeare. Midsummer is the name that seems to be used more often than Litha by the pagan community for centuries, at the very least. Albenheffen, which is specifically Druid and means the light of summer or the light of the shore. Gathering Day, which is specific to Wales, and it refers to the festival itself, celebrating the summer solstice. There's Felhain, which is the Scottish word for midsummer. Apologies if I butchered the pronunciation. I'm working on learning some Scottish so I can be better at that. There's St. John's Day, which is a Christian feast commemorating the birth of St. John the Baptist, and typically takes place around June 23rd or 24th. The church positioned this celebration to reinterpret or absorb seasonal rites of older celebrations so that they would align with Christian teachings. What's interesting is that this day doesn't seem to make an appearance in Celtic mythology. We have no evidence to suggest that any ancient Celts formally marked the summer solstice outside of the incredibly old stone structures. Yet they did honor the sun god Bel with bonfires. And they say it's a time of powerful fairy magic. It seems that the possible reason for not specifically marking it in mythology was because it ties in with Beltna. It appears that most of the inspiration for the modern-day Litha traditions come from Norse midsummer traditions. Pre-Christian summer solstice celebrations consisted of torchlight processions, bonfires, feasts, dancing, and nature rituals. There are some accounts of rolling a burning wheel down a hill into a body of water to celebrate, and the earliest account of that goes back to about the 8th century in what is now Germany. It was a time for celebrating the light, and also for gathering herbs for medicine and magic. The Romans celebrated by honoring Vesta, the hearth goddess. Ancient China celebrated the earth element, yin, and femininity at this time, and would leave offerings to deities and ancestors. The Vikings celebrated with feasts and fires, and believed that the veil between worlds was very thin at this time, which allowed for communication with spirits. They also believed that it was a good time to make political movements and resolve larger issues. Slavic traditions involve Kupala Night, which has fire and water at the forefront. It's a night when couples jump over fires to ensure fertility and good fortune, and maidens would float flower garlands down the river in hopes that it would bring them love. Wiccans celebrate by performing rituals that focus on the abundance of nature, expressing gratitude for the sunlight, and preparing for the coming harvest. Decorations that you might see are sun wheels and altars decorated with summer flowers, herbs, and symbols of the sun. It's a day of celebrating the beginning of summer, of bringing out your inner power and brightness, of balancing the light and the dark, to practice love magic, or to get married. It's also a good time for rededication rites to the god and goddess. If you're wanting to celebrate Litha, let's go over some ideas. Litha brings the element of fire, because, the sun, but also recognition for the life of the forest and wildlife. Themes to generally stick to that align with the season are abundance, growth, masculine energy, love, and magic. Keeping in mind that the goal is to honor the energy of the summer season, connect with the natural world, and embrace the energy of growth and transformation. If this sounds kind of familiar, it's because Beltane and Litha share a lot of the same themes. Whether or not you're Wiccan, some great ways to celebrate are putting together an altar with items like summer flowers, herbs, seasonal fruits, colored cloth and or candles, sun symbols, fire symbols, symbols of sun gods or goddesses, a crystal grid, and other representations of summer, like sand, seashells, bees, and butterflies. I'll go into associations and magical properties in a little bit. If you don't want to put together an altar, or can't for whatever reason, but still want decorations, you can use a tablecloth in Litha colors with a vase of some summer flowers in the center. You can make a wreath or a garland out of in-season flowers. You can make sun wheels that you can either hang in the window, on your porch, or attach to a stem and put them in a vase. If you're able to keep a candle burning throughout the day to honor the sun, that's another option. Just keep fire safety in mind. You can make some art, go for a hike, write a letter to your younger self, garden, go foraging, start a home composting system. You can also pick up trash that you find lying around. Carefully, please. Go play in the water, dance, sing, go on an adventure, or wake up just before dawn and meditate or do some yoga. You can make flower crowns, sun tea, bake things with honey, make a sun catcher, sun water, cook or bake with in-season ingredients, have a feast outdoors or a small picnic, do a divination session surrounding love and romance, get produce from your local farmer or go to a farmer's market. You can charge your sun crystals, make a wand, do some candle magic, get some potted herbs, or do some meditation that centers on the root, sacral, and solar plexus chakras. Cities like Santa Barbara, California host large parades that celebrate creativity, community, and the joyous energy of the season. If you want to find something similar in your area, I'm sure a quick search will bring something up. Or you can start your own. When it comes to rituals and spells, Litha rituals are best done at noon when the sun is the highest in the sky. Litha is a day for focusing on spells and rituals related to masculine energies or situations that need to be fired up, which can mean anything from giving a project an energy boost to awakening a passion. It's also a good time to set your intentions for the season. One thing that I do want to note is that Litha is the summer solstice. That means that all manner of summer solstice magic applies. And fire is a major catalyst for change and transformation at this time. For that reason, fire magic or candle magic are the main things that people tend to do during this time. Because of that, I want to remind everyone to please be careful with any flame that you're tending, whether it's a candle or a bonfire. Don't leave the fire unattended. Make sure you're burning in a fire-safe area or container, and always check with your local fire warden to make sure there isn't a burn ban if you're planning on a bonfire, and also find out if you need a permit for larger fires. Fire safety first, people. You probably saw the haze from the smoke coming from the wildfires in Canada recently. Let's not contribute to that. I know that not everyone likes to use a bunch of ingredients or material items for their rituals or spells, and you absolutely don't have to, but I am of the belief that the magical properties that those things possess are there to strengthen. They're there to help guide the energy. They're there to give the energy you put in a boost. Now, yes, too many ingredients or items and it starts to become a clouded mess, so be selective with what you use. Similar to the most recent voodoo episode, everything has a different flavor combination of powers and energies, so choose what you use with care. Now, before I just hand over a couple of simple spells, let's go over associated materials and elements along with their magical properties. And this isn't a complete list of everything about any of the following, and I will absolutely go into more depth on each one over time. For now, we're just addressing them in connection with Litha. Oh, and you may want to pause this and go grab your notebook and something to write with. We'll start with associated crystals. So first we have citrine, which is often used during Litha to enhance the energy of abundance, joy, and positivity. It's associated with the solar plexus and sacral chakras, and it can be meditated with to boost personal power, confidence, and self-esteem. There's the sunstone, which is often used during Litha for its energy of warmth, abundance, and vitality, associated with the solar plexus and sacral chakras, and considered to be the stone of leadership. And it's also a great aid for meditation. There's tiger's eye, which is associated with the root, sacral, solar plexus, and third eye chakras, used during Litha because it's seen as the bridge between the sun's energy and the earth's grounding force. It promotes clarity, focus, and balance. There's amber, which symbolizes the sun's enduring power, primarily associated with the solar plexus and sacral chakras, but can also support the throat chakra. Amber promotes creativity and passion and enhances self-worth and emotional and physical well-being. There's carnelian, which is absolutely one of my favorite crystals. It symbolizes and enhances the energy of the sun, supports courage, passion, and personal empowerment. Carnelian is associated with helping to balance the root and sacral chakras. And then there's clear quartz, which can generally be used at any point because the main property of this crystal is to amplify. It's like your magical magnifying glass. Now, associated herbs and flowers. We have St. John's wort. Magical properties include purifying, steadiness, reliability, confidence, and divination. This herb is traditionally burned in the bonfires to ward off negative energies and strengthen the inner sun. There's lavender. Magical properties include peace, serenity, love, dreams, and creativity. It's used in Litha rituals and spells to promote relaxation and enhance spiritual awareness. It's also really good in cookies. We have oats. Magical properties include abundance, prosperity, sustenance, and longevity. Can be used in ritual baths as an offering to a deity, used in ritual foods, or the oat straw can be used as part of the floral crowns. Then we have mugwort. Magical properties include dreams, divination, intuition, psychic powers, and meditation. It can be used as an offering for the fairies or for its heightened energy and enhanced awareness properties. We have chamomile. Magical properties include calming, healing, relaxation, warding, success, and purification. Chamomile tea is suitable for rituals centered around inner reflection on Litha. There's rose. Magical properties include self-love, romance, and creativity. Mainly enjoyed for their fragrance, roses are used for flower crowns and altar decorations. You can also use the petals and rose water in a self-love bath. There's lemon balm. Magical properties include healing, love, success, and protection. It also assists in emotional healing. Lemon balm is used during Litha for its connection with the sun, its refreshing scent, and positive energy. You can use it to decorate altars or use it in a tea. There's bay leaves. Magical properties include cleansing, protection, and manifestation. One spell that's typically done on Litha is a solar strength spell, where you choose a bay leaf and write your intention on the leaf, with the focus being something solar, strength, or personal power related. Meditate on that intention for a few minutes while holding the bay leaf, and use tweezers or tongs to hold the bay leaf over a heat-safe surface and light the bay leaf. As the leaf burns, visualize your intention being released to the universe, carried by the smoke. Once the leaf has completely burned, respectfully dispose of the ashes. And then we have sage, garden sage specifically. Magical properties include wisdom, protection, guidance, luck, and companionship. It can be used as an incense or an oil during spells and rituals, or can be used in culinary dishes if a feast is being prepared. We have yarrow. Magical properties include protection, warding, psychic powers, divination, and dreams. Primarily used during Litha for its healing properties and uses in divination. There's calendula, which symbolizes the sun's warmth and energy, and the ripeness of the season. Magical properties include protection, bringing in good energy, healing, and heightened intuition. Lots of solar energy with this flower. Then there's sunflowers, which symbolize the sun's peak energy. Magical properties include happiness, positivity, good luck, and resilience. Lots of solar energy with this flower as well. Marigold. Magical properties include fire, creativity, passion, purity, and honoring the dead. They're used during Litha for their connection to the sun and for ritual purposes. There's daisies. Magical properties include new beginnings, cheerfulness, a connection to nature, and connecting to the divine feminine. Used to honor the sun's peak power. Also used to determine if someone loves you. And I'm sure many of you know that from childhood. And to do this, you find a daisy with no missing petals. Starting with any petal, say he, she, they loves me, and pluck it. And then go to the next petal and say he, she, they loves me not, and pluck that one. Or start the other way around with loves me not going first. Doesn't matter. Go all the way around the flower, doing this with each petal alternating between loves me and loves me not. And the last petal and phrase that ends up accompanying it is supposed to let you know if that person loves you. There's basil. Magical properties include abundance, luck, fertility, growth, and creativity. Used in Litha rituals and spells for its association with the sun and to symbolize the peak of summer energy and growth. There's cinnamon. Magical properties include heat, fire, passion, confidence, and creativity. It can be used to enhance energy, protection, and abundance in spells and rituals performed on Litha. Now, before I move on, I'm going to give you a simple spell involving fire and herbs, since we just went over some of them. Once you have a firm intention in mind and have decided you want to go with a bonfire or a small fire in a cauldron, collect the herbs you wish to use for your spell. Settle yourself before your fire and take a few moments to meditate on and clarify what it is you're calling in with your spell. Take the herbs into your palms, pass your intention and energy into the herbs, and toss or sprinkle the herbs into the fire, either one at a time or blended. It's up to you. Watch your herbs burn and watch the smoke rise from the fire and herbs, and then to close, just enjoy the rest of the fire. If you aren't able to have a fire but can burn a candle, you can dress a tapered candle in your herbs. And to do this, you would use a thumbtack or something similar that's kind of sharp to score the side of the candle and wipe the candle down with a carrier oil, like jojoba oil or almond oil, grapeseed oil, coconut oil, whatever. Crush up your herbs, and they do have to be dry for this, and roll the candle in the crushed herbs until you've got a nice coating. You can then proceed with the spell by lighting your candle and watching that burn. Also, it might be a good idea to check with your doctor to make sure that you're not allergic to any herbs that you might potentially be using. Associated deities, if you choose to work with one. There's Brigid, the Celtic goddess of fire, hearth, home, and smithcraft. You can invoke her for blessings of warmth, creativity, and healing. There's Gaia, the Greek goddess of the earth, Mother Nature, and the planet's life-sustaining power. Earthy offerings that she prefers are pebbles, flowers, herbs, feathers, shells, apples, and wine. There's Freya, the Norse goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. You can celebrate her by honoring the earth's bounty. Preferred offerings are honey, chocolate, candles, flowers, amber, rose quartz, and gold. There's Lugh, Irish god of the sun and harvest. You can invoke him for blessings of illumination, clarity, and inspiration. His preferred offerings are bread, apples, wine, and flowers. There's Apollo, the Greek god of light and the sun. He can be invoked or honored during Litha to celebrate the solar themes of the day. His preferred offerings are honey, fruit, olive oil, grains, milk, music, and poetry. There's Helios, the Greek god who personifies the sun, and he can be honored with offerings such as honey, sunflowers, daisies, gold and amber jewelry, or anything gold, yellow, or white that represents the sun. And then we have Ra, the Egyptian god of the sun, bringer of light and warmth. Offerings include milk, beer, bread, honey, perfumes, and fine textiles. Now, when it comes to deities, it's better to get to know them before you actually try working with them. That will end up being a whole episode on its own at the very least, so we'll come back to the details on that at another time. And then we have associated colors. There's yellow, which symbolizes the sun, light, warmth, and vitality. There's gold, which symbolizes the sun's energy, the abundance of the season, joy, and playfulness. There's orange, represents the sun's energy, enthusiasm, and creativity, also associated with courage and positive thinking. We have green, which represents nature, growth, fertility, and symbolizing the abundant plant life. Red symbolizes the sun's energy, vibrancy, fire, and life-affirming qualities of the season. Also symbolizes passion, strength, and transformation. And then there's white, associated with purification, new beginnings, and the divine feminine. It's used to complement the more vibrant colors of the season. One more quick and simple little spell that can be done at dusk or sometime during the night, a firefly wish. So you go outside and gently catch a firefly, whisper your wish to it, and then blow it away into the night. I also want to share how to make the modern pagan sun wheel. The more traditional style ones appear more like an equal-armed cross within a wreath, but today we're going to go over how to make the modern one. And you'll need a few items. 4 branches of equal length, yarn, or strips of fabric, twine, ribbon, and or raffia in Litha colors, scissors, and some sort of purifying incense, whether that's sage, frankincense, palo santo, sandalwood, lavender, nag champa, rosemary. Any of those would be fine. If you wish, you can bake the branches in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This is to kill any unwanted bugs in the bark if you plan to keep your sun wheel indoors, but it's not absolutely necessary. Smoke cleanse all of your materials in the smoke from your incense, and then you'll want to make 2 equal-sided crosses with your branches and secure them with string, yarn, twine, something like that. And then secure the 2 of those together at the centers so that it looks like you have a template for an 8-slice pizza. It doesn't have to look perfect, and this is by far the hardest part of the whole thing. And then you'll want to begin threading your weaving material, your yarn, twine, ribbon, fabric, whatever, by tying it to the twine or string used to secure the branches. Focus on the front of the wheel. It doesn't matter what the back looks like. Bring your weaving material across the top of the branch, wrap it around behind the back, and bring it back to the front before moving on to the next section of branch. You'll continue this way all around your wheel over and over again, and alternate your colors and materials however you want. Make your own unique design. And while wrapping or weaving, visualize the sun and the strength and power of it being poured into your sun wheel. If you'd like, you can use music as a background and either sing, chant, or repeat a mantra while you work. When you're finished, secure the weaving material to the last branch and place your sun wheel wherever you would like it. It can be on your altar, on your front steps, on your porch, hanging in your window, hanging off your staircase banister, anywhere you want it. You can also charge it in the sunlight. But do keep in mind that the colors may fade over time if exposed to sunlight long term. This is something that I plan to do if I can carve out enough time for that. And if I do manage to make one, I will absolutely post it on the socials for you guys to go check it out. Thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out with me today. Next time, we'll dive into a topic that I mentioned briefly in episode 2, sleep paralysis. As I said before, there are mundane and supernatural things to talk about surrounding sleep paralysis, and we'll dig into all of it. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss out on future episodes, hit those like and follow buttons. I have so much more waiting to be shared with you. For now, you can find me on Facebook, Witchful Journey Podcast, on Instagram at _witchful_journey. For those of you that need a reminder, the underscores are the spaces with the little lines at the bottom. On BlueSky at awitchfuljourney.bsky.social, and on YouTube, A Witchful Journey. I enjoy hearing from listeners, so if you pop in, say hi, leave me a rating, or if you're really feeling it, a review. And now that I have it set up, if you'd like to contribute, donate, buy me my next podcast coffee, whatever, you can check that out on A Witchful Journey on Coffee. You can also email me at awitchfuljourney@gmail.com. I'm April, and we are on a witchful journey.